bit of name, Jazz Takhar, best in the game. Mamba mentality in his own lane, so better pay attention to what he be saying. Get the message, ain't no question. Welcome to the broadcast, the Jazz Takhar podcast.
Hey, welcome to the Jazz Takhar podcast, episode 249, the number one podcast for real estate agents on doing more deals and building a business around their life, not the other way around. Today's topic, very near and dear to my heart from a business perspective because it's helped me really do a ton of deals, but more importantly, build relationships with my clients that results in more deals consistently. And that topic being selling more real estate by doing these educational events. But before I get into the meat of the conversation, I like to put it out there as I always do at the start of the Jazz Takhar podcast, which is a free 10-minute coaching call with me specifically live on the Jazz Takhar podcast. All you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com/call, ftguacademy.com/call. My team will reach out to you for the lucky winner. We generally pick one or two people to get to pick my brains on anything that's going on in their business. And sometimes obviously it kind of filters into what's happening in their life. But the only way to get that is if you go to ftguacademy.com/call to win the 10-minute free coaching call with yours truly. Let's get right into the meat of the conversation today on how to sell more real estate doing educational events. And if you're new to my world, this is the first episode that you're listening to. Shame on you because I'm at 249 episodes as of today, but you'll start to see a theme occur when it comes to how to do more deals. If you don't have certain aspects set up in your business, you're going to have a tough time. Now, look, guys, gals, some of you are in this business as a real estate agent or a mortgage broker / loan officer to do an extra 4 or 5 deals a year to help pay the bills because you have a full-time job. I get it. I'm not even really talking to you guys. Hopefully you get some value out of what I'm speaking about through a podcast like this or any of my social media content, or if maybe you've come on into one of my live workshops. But for the guys and gals who are actually trying to build a business, this funnel of building out educational events is a must. Why? For a myriad of reasons. Number one, and not in any particular order, but start to get this theme that we want to start to differentiate ourselves. In North America, there is over 1.5 million real estate agents / mortgage brokers. 1.5 million in all of North America. And from a customer's and a client's perspective, they think we all kind of do the same thing, right? Like, hence why our commissions have been going down. Overall, the average that we're starting to receive as a fee is decreasing. I got to tell you, though, I don't blame the customer. I don't blame the client or the prospect, because they're starting to see that majority of that 1.5 million people in North America are a commodity. Well, all we really do from their perspective is we put up a for sale sign, and within 6 hours it's sold. And not only did it sell, but it sold for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars over what somebody was asking. Yeah, you took some pictures, and some of you, unfortunately, are still taking pictures with your iPhone. Not when we're trying to sell a property, guys, of $600,000, $700,000. Invest into that listing, invest into your business. You will reap the rewards later on. The client also thinks all we're really doing is going on the internet, finding some homes, and then showing them some properties. On the flip side, we as real estate professionals, real estate agents and mortgage brokers, we know how much work goes into selling a property, finding a property, getting the financing, doing all the paperwork, helping investors find properties that are going to give them a higher rate of return than they're seeing in some other type of investment, mutual funds, stocks, whatever it may be. There's a lot of work that goes into that, but at the end of the day, whatever the perception is reality. If the clients think that we're just doing the for sale sign and showing them some homes. We're kind of like just letting them, see the property by opening the door. Yay, you can, the code to the lockbox. And that's why then our value that we're bringing to the marketplace is perceived to be less. Hence why the income, the commission, the service fee, the percentage that we're charging is decreasing. Now, if you, though, can find a way to be different, and one of those ways is to educate people long before they might even be in the process of buying, selling, or investing. Because the higher that you can fish in terms of upstream, the more fish you're gonna catch. And so if you are putting these types of educational events, I'm gonna go through the 4 educational events that you need to do every single year like clockwork. I'm going to make sure that not only do I tell you what they are, what you're going to be doing in them, and then most importantly, how do you convert the people that came to these events into deals and relationships that will feed you for the rest of your life. But number one is that you're going to be able to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. Now, out of the 1.5 million people in North America, yeah, there is a lot of people who are doing educational events, but it's so small. Let me speak about my specific market in the Greater Toronto area. 77,000 real estate agents in this 50 mile radius, 75 kilometer radius. I'm going to venture to say out of the 77,000 agents, there's probably 50, maybe 60 real estate professionals that put on educational events. Out of that 60 or 50, there's maybe 5 to 7 that do it consistently every quarter. That's why I'm going to make you do 4. I'm going to tell you the 4. Okay. You got to stay till the end because I have a process to how I want to make sure that you understand the music of why you need to do this and then what you're going to be doing. And then I'm going to give you the 4 specific educational events. Now, out of that 50, as I mentioned, there's probably 5 or 7 that are doing it every quarter. I'm here to tell you, I've done a little over 692 events. Now, they weren't all in person. The 4 that I want you to do are in person. I'm going to talk about all the logistics. I'm going to give you an amazing checklist, what you need to do before, during, and after. I'm going to tell you how you can get that as well for free. There's no cost for that. Now, another reason that you want to make sure that you start to get these in-person events in your funnel, in your process of your business, is that it's another touch that you get to have with your database. You are going to be inviting people to these educational in-person events. And what you're doing is making sure that you get to the old saying, right, of network. Your net worth is determined by your network. Also, the more babies that you can kiss and hands that you can shake, that will turn into business if you follow this exact system and process that I'm going to go through. What it also does is when you're putting on educational events every 90 days, it makes outbound phone calls to your database, to your network, a lot easier. Because I know some of you have a tough time just picking up the phone and sparking a conversation. For me, I mean, literally before I got into my studio, there's some renovations happening at our office. Outside of our office, there's a site supervisor that, big shout out to Hussein if he's listening, by the way. He's doing some renovations to one of the stores downstairs. And him and I kind of cross paths almost every morning when I come in and he's coming in. We kind of do the head nod to each other. But today we just kind of smiled at each other like, fuck man, we've been giving head nods for the last week. Like, let's spark a conversation. And we just started talking. And he's like, bro, like, what's going on? Like, how come I see you every morning going upstairs? I'm telling him I'm in the real estate business, yada, yada, yada. I'm asking him, like, what are you actually doing in terms of the renovations? We start talking for like 4 minutes. At the end of it, I make sure I always ask the question like, hey man, do you ever go on any of those social media profile platforms, the Instagrams, the Facebooks, the YouTubes? He's like, yeah, man, I'm always on that. I'm like, cool, because I do like 3, 4, 5 videos a day on each of those platforms. Can I just get your opinion on what I'm doing? And if I'm shit, i.e. like, even if you're watching or listening now and you're like, this podcast sucks, shoot me the email and tell me. I'm a big boy. I can handle the constructive criticism. That's exactly what I said to him. Boom, he pressed follow. We're in the conversation. He invest into real estate once every 2 to 3 years is his goal. He has 3 income properties. If I never sparked that conversation with him, we never would have had the possibility of getting connected. Now, I know most of you who are watching and listening, like, Jazz, I ain't fucking doing that. I get it. So if you put on these educational events every 90 days, I've just made the process of making those outbound phone calls easier, because now you have a reason to give them a call from your thought process. Make sure you go to my past episodes, okay, and future ones coming up, that you actually don't even need the reason, and I can give you scripts on how to build rapport really quickly with people, even if you're not yet putting on an educational event. Obviously, after episode 249 today, you're gonna start the process of it. But imagine now, if you're doing this every 90 days, it's a lot easier to now call Clyde, say, Clyde, what's going on? It's Jazz. Listen, I got this event coming up. We're going to be talking about XYZ. Can you make it? He's going to say one of two things. I can't make it. I'm busy. No problem, Clyde. Can we touch base, in the next one that I'm doing? And if you know of anyone, Clyde, that you maybe work with, like a beautiful Bobo, can you maybe let him know about the podcast? Let him know about the educational event? He's going to say yes. He's going to say no. But at least now you had the reason to make the phone call, because then what you can also say on that call is, Clyde, no problem. I know that you're not coming to the event. Do you want the recording of the event? Do you think that might be valuable to you? Great. Hey, now that I have you on the phone really quickly, where's your headspace at with what's going on with the real estate market? So see how we use the fact that we actually have an event scheduled to then book a possible appointment, even with somebody that is not going to be coming to the event. So right away, we've differentiated ourselves, because we know out of the 1.5 million people, 99% of people are not doing consistent educational events. We know that we're differentiated ourselves. We have a possible another in-person touch where we get to shake hands with people that already know us, like us, and possibly are going to start trusting us. And we can also meet new people, because you can run ads to bring people into these events. You're also now made your phone calls a lot easier. And then lastly, it creates community, right? Because if you're putting on these educational events consistently over a year period, 2 years, 3 years, 8 years. I've been doing it now for 20 years. Like, guys, if this doesn't work, like if it didn't work, I wouldn't continue to do it. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I'm not a fucking idiot. I would stop. I do it because it works. I'm telling you 4 times a year. I do it once a month in person, like clockwork. And when we got shut down during the pandemic, I turned those into weekly virtual events. We just branded them. You can use this as well. We call it Brunch with REC. REC is, my real estate team and company. And what we do is we just branded it Brunch with REC. So if you're a solo agent and it's Clyde, call it Brunch with Clyde, for example. It doesn't really matter. You don't need to name any of these. They're just events that you're putting on. But what we've done is build community. Think about, like, even if you're not the most religious person in the world, right? But most people know that on Fridays, and I might get this wrong, so, excuse me, but on Fridays, there's probably something happening in a mosque, right? Like, Bobo, when do people go to mosque? On Friday generally, right? I think that's kind of the day that people go to mosque. Bo's looking at me and saying, bro, I'm like, I haven't been in a minute, and so I got to go. But Saturdays, that there's something probably happening at the synagogue. Sundays, I know in my temple, the Sikh temple, there's something going on. There's church, there's services happening. There's a service happening, sorry. Why is that important, and why am I talking about it? Because the reason those religions and churches and temples and synagogues and all that mosques work is because what they've done is created this community where people get to show up every single time. But they know, the people that are coming in there, they know that it's happening every Friday, every Saturday, every Sunday. What we want to start doing for our client base is know that, every 90 days, I know there's a real estate agent that reaches out to me, or it's my buddy, that person thinking in your network, that they're always having some type of event. Now, you might be thinking, I've never done one of these. I can't see it. I promise you one thing. You do this 4 times in the year, you're going to continue to do it, because people are going to start asking you, when's your next one? I can guarantee you that, because that's exactly what happened with us. We have people, if we even move a date for our brunch with REC, people freak out. Like, when's it happening? Can you start live streaming it, is what we started to hear, because I can't make it out. You know, I'm in Vancouver. I'm not going to fly in, obviously, for it. So we started to live stream it. You can start to now build a community that is of people that want to hear from you, because you're not selling at these events. You're not trying to bring people to an event so then you can take everything out of their wallet. That's not the process. The process is to bring them to these events, specifically with the 4 that I'm going to give you at the end of this episode, and educate people so they're informed to make a quality decision if they want to move forward with one of the services that you might offer. Because when you're selling real estate, mortgages, doesn't matter what part of the business you're in as a real estate professional, if you have somebody who's educated and informed, they're a lot easier to work with. And they don't have remorse after. They're not thinking like, oh shit, should have I invested? Should I bought that property? Should I be selling? Whatever it may be, because you're educating them up front. So this community building is probably one of the most important things you can start to do, because it all comes together from the perspective that you're now a different real estate agent / mortgage broker than all the others, because you're somebody who brings value. Guys, we've heard you got to bring more value, and that's how you're, like I've say it too, right? Like, you got to bring more value and then your income will increase. This is exactly how you bring value. This is like a tactic. This is not a mindset thing. This is not a strategy per se. This is the exact tactic that you need to pick up on and then now execute. And I could not have made it easier with all the stuff that I'm going to make sure that I give you. Now, if you're wondering about all the logistics, I'm going to help you out right now. These 4 that I advise you to do, they should be done all in person. Now you got to start to think of, okay, some thoughts on where you can do this, okay? And so I'm going to help you kind of jog that part of your brain in terms of creativity. The number one place to start, and if you can't do it, I got more for you, but the number one place to start would be your office. Do you have a place in your office that is maybe set up where you can have 20, 30, 40 seats? Maybe there's a boardroom that's big enough. Maybe you don't have a boardroom in your office, but you have an area. Like, think about the area of where all the agents kind of hang out from a bullpen perspective, like where they make their phone calls. Maybe there's a spot there where you can still have 40, 50 people congregate, and you can put up a screen, you can have a TV there. Number one place would be your office. Number 2 is in a condo party room. They're very inexpensive to book. Generally speaking, it's about $100 to $200, call it $150 to rent out the party room in a condo building that you live in. Here's an extra added touch for you. What about one that you just sold? You can call the client, Bo, and say, Bo, I know, how are things? Good. I know you moved into XYZ condo. I wanted to see if you're okay with helping me book the party room, because I'm going to be putting on an educational event on one of the 4 topics. By the way, obviously, I would love for you to attend. If you have any friends or family that want to come, just let me know. I'll send them the registration link to attend. So the number 2 place that you could rent is the party room. Number 3, a little bit more expensive now, would be a hotel conference room. I don't want you to be picturing that you're doing an event for 600-700 people. Not yet. Even if you've done it 15, 20 different times already, I want you to think about 40, 50 people in a room, not 400, 500. Why? Because most people that I've come across in this business, they'll only do the event if they have 100, 200, 300 people. The problem with that is that they won't actually put the work in to do this quarterly, and it's more important to do this quarterly than one time a year. Why? Think about when we watch a TV show, right? We watch a TV show, even now if you're watching something on YouTube, the commercials run over and over and over and over again. Why? Because It's the brainwashing of the going into your subconscious. We're doing the same thing here. We want to make sure that we're offering events every quarter that people can attend. So far you have your office, a condo party room, a hotel room. Now, if none of those for some reason work, and I got to tell you, I've been coaching real estate agents for years now. Generally speaking, one of those three work. Okay. A hotel room, conference room, you can always get. It's a little bit more expensive. Move to possibly doing this in a community center. You can rent out your local community center for a couple of $100. It's not that expensive. If that is something that you still can't wrap your head around, the last place that I've done events in the past, and definitely I've seen other realtors that we've been coaching have been doing it, is the public library. You'll be surprised. There's actually generally no cost. Why? Because you go to the public library and say, look, there's that area. Think about the area where they have all the kids come during the week and read books, right? The public library wants people to come into their doors. They won't even charge you to use their space. If they do, again, it's about $100. Going further into the logistics, there's a process to before, during, and after. Before the event, during the event, and after the event. Now, I want to give you my full checklist that we've been revamping for the last 2 decades, because when I got started with this 2 decades ago doing events, we've been using a little bit more technology. We've gotten obviously smarter. And so I want to provide you with this before, during, after checklist. And to get that, all you got to do is email me at info@jazztakhar.ca. info@jazztakhar.ca. Don't make it formal. In the subject line, just write event checklist. That's all I need you to write. I'll give you an extra treat as well. I'll give you another video that we've done that is probably about 45 minutes to an hour of my VP and business partner, Laura Stewart, going through this whole process of before, during, after, which includes the actual email that you're going to send out to the people in your database, inviting them. It also has the phone script that you're going to use to call people. And you gotta make this phone call in an excited way. You can't be calling Bo and inviting him to an event the way that I've heard some people do. Like, hey, Bo, I have an event coming up and I would love for you to maybe attend. Come on. Who's going to want to come to an event like that? You got to get the energy up. Bo, I got this event coming up, buddy. We're going to be talking about what all these interest rate changes mean. I would love for you to have it because times have changed. I would love for you to attend. It's happening on Saturday. Yada, yada, date. Can you make it? No? Okay, no problem. Can I keep you posted about upcoming events? Yes. Awesome. Do you know of anyone else that might want to attend one of these events, this specific one or the ones in the future? You're picking up a possible referral. The way I want everyone to think about when you're making this phone call, here's the mindset now, okay, is if you were throwing a party, a birthday party for yourself, and you needed to invite people, you probably wouldn't call Bo, right? That way that I did the first way. Like, hey, Bo, I got this birthday party, and I would like you, you'd be like, bro, I got a birthday party coming up, and it's happening here, and I really, you got to come, Bo. No, and Bo's going to say, I'm busy. Bo, you got to come for a drink at least, bare minimum. So that's how every quarter, I invite people the same way. It's why people actually show up, because I'm doing it with energy. Nobody wants to come to a boring place. You probably, if I did this podcast with no energy, I'm not sure if you would ever come back, right? And so the event process of making phone calls, the email that you're sending out is just so you can make the phone call. That's why we send the email. Yeah, people are going to ask you when you're speaking to them, can you just give me the event logistics in an email? Well, I already sent you that. I'll go register myself. Some people might say. That's where you plug in and say, no problem. I already got you on we're on the phone right now. I got the page up. I'm going to register you. Are you bringing a guest? Are you coming alone or are you bringing a guest? Why do you say that? Well, yes, they might be coming with their partner, their life partner, their business partner, a friend, but you don't have that person in the database. Some people say to me, well, I got Bo. Why do I need to have his girlfriend as well? Like they're together. Yeah, but sometimes Bo doesn't open up his email and his girlfriend does. And maybe something the subject line didn't even capture Bo, or it did, but he's a skimmer of emails, but yet his girlfriend's very detail oriented, right? So we want to have both people in our database. That's how we grow the numbers. And when Bo's girlfriend's at work, she also got the email. If she never got an email, she would never think about it. And so we want to make sure she's in the CRM because she's going to tell somebody at the water cooler as well. Now, during the event, so now we've done the legwork, okay? We got the logistics. We got the spot that we're doing it in. We're doing it in our office. In terms of days and times, pick one of these two. Don't overthink it. 690 odd events. I kind of figured this part out now. Either do a Thursday evening, 6:30 p.m., your local time, or Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. 6:30 if it's a Thursday evening, Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Does a Wednesday work? Does a Sunday work? Yeah, it does. I've tested them for a very long time. It's not like I've done one event on a Wednesday and one event on a Sunday and then said, forget it. That's not how I run A/B testing. I've like literally done Sundays for maybe about 6 to 10 months, and I went monthly, and I realized comparing it to my Saturday days, Saturdays more people showed up. And one of the reasons on a Sunday is because people have, that's like family day, they got to go to their religious places of worship, whatever it may be. I found that on Saturday at 10:30 a.m. It's early enough where people still get the opportunity to do whatever else they want to do on a Saturday. And it's late enough that if you were hungover on a Friday night, you can still get up, 10 a.m., 9:30 and make the drive to wherever the event is. Don't overthink where your database is in terms logistically. If you're doing it in your office, it's the place that's going to be free. Right? Most people, like most brokerages, are not going to charge you to run an event. They have a vested interest in you doing more deals and bringing clients there. That if your office is in the East End and you just happen to do more business in the West End, I would still, especially if it's your first one, just take and heed my advice. Just do it at your office in the East. People will still show. You'll be surprised. People will still show up. You can adjust later. Remember, we're in the fire stage of ready, fire, aim. We're pulling the trigger. We'll adjust afterwards. And you're not going to adjust anything until you do 4 of them, because that's a real sample size. Doing something once and then making a decision on it is not a very good strategy, because anything could have happened that day. It could have been a storm, or it could have started raining. It could have been too nice of weather. It could be 35 degrees. Like, you can't base it on just the one day. Now, what you're going to be doing at the event, I'm going to get into the topics in a couple of minutes, but what you're going to be doing at the event when people walk in, logistically, the things that you're going to have set up, very simple, guys, okay? The Saturday people, if you're doing it on the event on the Saturday, some coffee, some tea, water bottles, some muffins and croissants. Now, that's it. Don't go crazy. I spend a little bit more money on my events now because I did the coffee, tea, muffins, and croissants for about a decade. And about 10 years ago, I started to cater our events. I think we got a little too bougie, to be honest with you. But we knew that we wanted to change it up. But that was after 10 years. Okay, so I kept it very, very cost effective for my Saturday group. For my Thursday evening group, if you're comfortable, you got to make this decision yourself. I've always done it as a wine and cheese, where we get 6, 7 bottles of red, 6, 7 bottles of white. I went to the local grocery store, and they made me like a cheese tray. I would make a cheese tray that probably fed about 40 people. We needed to get like 2, 3 of them with the bottles of wine. I didn't go buy the most expensive bottles of wine. I found something around the $10 mark. If you're in Ontario, our province, there's a beautiful wine. They're not sponsoring us yet, but I'll still throw the name out. It's called Fusion. I just had good feedback. Like, it's not a $50 bottle of wine, but it's a really good $10 bottle of wine. Side note, most people don't know the difference between a really good bottle and a not so good bottle. That event as a wine and cheese for 40 people, 50 people, it probably runs me around $350, $400. Like, I'm trying to do 4, 5, 7, 8, 10 deals. Truth is, one deal Average gross commission here is about $20,000. I'm not afraid to spend the $400-500. In fact, for me, it's not if it's a right move, it's how many times can we do this? Hence why I moved to once a month doing these events, because they work so well from a high level branding perspective and the sales perspective. Top of the funnel branding, bottom of the funnel sales, where deals actually happen. That is the logistics around food and drink and everything. What I want you to be, who I want you to be during this event in that first 20, 30 minutes, call it, as people are walking in, is be a host. If they're coming to your office, you're doing it at a hotel, you're doing it at a library, you're doing it at a condo party, for that 2 hours of, from start to finish, they're coming to your home. And so the way that you would greet someone at home is the expectation that I'm having of you, that you're going to greet them the same way. You don't, when someone, a friend of yours, comes over, the first thing you say is, what can I get you to drink? What can I get you to eat? Thank you for coming. What's going on? And you have a smile. You're actually happy that they're there. That's the same way I want you to treat the people that come in. Big smile, welcome them. Hey, Bo, thanks for coming. I got some tea, I got some wine, I got some cheese. Help yourself. We're not formal around here. Just same thing, right? If somebody comes over to your house, like, just open the fridge, open the pantry, bro. Like, whatever you need, just take it. It's all good. Okay? So when people are walking in, you're stacking the cards in your favor. They came in, they're feeling welcomed. They got their tea, they got their water. They're not yet sure, right? Because there's other people around. They might not feel comfortable. Maybe they're introverts. They're not really comfortable speaking to people. The way that you put them at ease, even an introvert that's not comfortable, and there's a lot of people like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, is, hey, like, just go help yourself, get some tea, get some coffee. If you're comfortable speaking with people, go crazy. If not, no problem. We're going to be starting at around 6:45 and or 10:45. You're telling people to come for 10:30 on a Saturday morning. You're telling people to come for 6:30 in the evening on a Thursday. And most people are not going to show up on time. That's just how that's just how things go. However, you're going to let people know we're actually going to start and I always do like air quotes, the formal part of the event at around 6:45 or 10:45. And the reason I say like the formal part of the event, for you as the person who's hosting it, the objective here is to really get people to connect with other people, to connect with you. Yes, get educated within that formal part of the presentation and the topic that you're going to be covering at the event, which I'm going to give you very shortly. But it's really more about the fact that they came to the office, they got to see you, they know that you know other people. And remember, people want to work with busy people. If you're not in demand, and saying that on a piece of content on Instagram and or putting it on your business card means shit in 2024 and beyond. You have to show them. And one beautiful way of showing them is when you have an event happening and Bo knows that he's not your only client or only person that you know. And there's other people. And then FOMO starts happening. The fear of missing out, like, oh, well, Bo starts to sometimes feel, not all the time, but starts to feel like, shit, maybe Clyde's going to buy something. Maybe Laura's going to buy something. Maybe Tyler's going to buy something. Or there is other people doing it. It reassures them that building wealth in their life using the vehicle of real estate is a good strategy. Not the only strategy, but it starts to let them know that it is a good strategy. Now, the actual formal part, you're going to be doing this with a guest, because I know where a lot of people are going in their heads right now. Like, Jazz, you want me to do an event for 50 people and be in the front of the room and have all the eyes on me? And like, no way, man. Like, I'm not doing that. Well, I'm going to make it very easy on you, because like you, it took me a very long time within my 20-year career to be comfortable to do these events and public speak and go on stages and go, like, I'm doing this podcast with you right now solo. I don't have a script. I got some notes because my team knows that I go off on a lot of tangents. So I'm trying to like just keep myself, in a box, so to speak. But for 10 years, I did not speak to anyone from the perspective of being on the stage and being the focal point. What I tapped into is what I would need you to tap into right now. Is the 4 topics that I'm going to give you they're always with guests. So you don't have to do all the heavy lifting. You don't have to be the person that is in front of the stage, in front of the audience, and you're the only one. So the 4 topics that I give you, they are going to be with someone else that has a vested interest in meeting more people. And what you're going to have is what nowadays is known as like a fireside chat, just a conversation around the topic. You don't have to go and have a beautiful PowerPoint presentation. And this is feedback now from the marketplace, buyers, sellers, investors, people, yes, only through my community and my coaching clients' communities, but that's a pretty big sample size. So I got a lot of data. They don't want to be presented to. They want to be educated. There's a difference. Being presented to through a PowerPoint presentation is kind of old school now. Now where the value comes from is a panel, 2 people, 3 people, 8 people, having a conversation and giving education through experience, through real life stories. Probably one of the reasons why you're here, right? Like you like the fact that you know I'm in the business. Like this is not bullshit that I'm making up because I make phone calls. I have to deal with clients' fires that I have to put out. I have to put on these educational events. It's coming through real life stories and examples and experience. That's what you're going to be doing with your guest. All you have to do is moderate the conversation. And the 5 things and the 5 best ways to do that is by using questions that are open-ended. Those 5 being what, where, when, how, and why. What, where, when, how, and why. Because anybody you're speaking to, when you start your questions with those 5, they can't say yes or no to it. They have to elaborate. That opens up the conversation. It opens up the dialogue about what you guys are talking about. And so what you're going to do is do that for about 25 to 30 minutes. I know you're thinking, oh my God, that's a long time. I can tell you when you use those 5, what, where, when, how, and why, starting points, each of those take 2 to 3, 4 minutes with your opening of welcoming everyone, actually in the formal part of the event, as well as your close, which I'm going to talk to you about. You're actually going to be able to get to that 25, 30 minutes a lot quicker than you can ever imagine, especially if you add Q&A. You're actually going to run the risk of it going to an hour, even longer. Yes, you need to open this to Q&A because you're going to get real life questions from people that are in the audience. Now, what you need to do after, this is part of the close. At the end of your event, which I will offer the survey that I've been doing for 20 years now. All you got to do is email info@jazztakhar.ca, and I'll make sure I get over the before, during, and after checklist for the events. Included in that is the survey, but essentially the survey is where you ask everybody that attended what they thought about the event. What did they think about the topic? And what future topics would they like you to cover? You're asking that because you want engagement. If you have 6 people who are saying the exact same topic, you probably should maybe either consider adding to the 4 that I'm giving you or take away one of them and do what your community is looking for based on your geographical location, based on your target market, based on the people that are in your CRM. Hence why you need to ask that question. Now, for whoever gives you the survey, doesn't give you the survey, it doesn't really matter because you've registered all these people. And this is important because this part here is where we start converting the people that came. And I got something for you for even the people that registered and didn't come, how to convert them. Because you are going to call everyone within 24 hours. You're going to call everyone who showed up and you're simply going to say, same stuff that you said on the survey, but now it's in a one-on-one conversation on the phone. Anybody who showed up to your event, they're going to be more than happy to pick up your phone call, and you're going to call and say, Bo, it's Jazz. How you doing? Thank you so much for coming to the event last night. I just wanted to get your feedback. What did you think? They're going to say something. Awesome. Hey, what other topics, Bo, would you like me to cover in the future? Because as I mentioned last night at the event, I'm going to be doing this every single quarter, and I want to give what people want. He's going to tell you something. Here's the conversion. Listen for it. You're going to say thank you, Bo, for whatever he says, and you're going to go into, just curious, Bo, where's your headspace at with everything that you're listening to and watching about the real estate market? See what I did there? Open-ended question. Where's your headspace at? Bo's going to say a myriad of things. He's going to say, well, I'm not really sure. You know, the event yesterday kind of opened my eyes to what is happening in the market, the strategies that you guys spoke about. Or, man, I'm so glad that I came because I think I'm ready to move forward with some type of investment, some type of purchase. Maybe I want to get into that investing into REIT stuff, whatever he says. He might also just say, I'm not actually even interested, bro. I just came for the wine and cheese. Well, thank you for that, Bo, for coming just for the wine and cheese. Let me know if there's another friend that you would like to bring in the future, or even if you can't make it, that just wants to come for the wine and cheese. But now that I have you on the phone, what a lot of people are doing that did show up, and just people in my community in general. See, I'm going to stop there really quickly because I want to make sure people caught what I said there. When I said a lot of people in my community, the fact that you put on the event and they saw other people, if people are asking you or not asking you, it doesn't really matter, because the person that you're speaking to, they know that you have a community because you put on an event where they saw other people. Like, I really need everyone to understand the psychology of what I'm saying here. The fact that you had people show up to an event and now you're making the phone call the next day and saying that the people in my community, and Bo's already kind of like, he's eating off of your plate right now. And like, this is what happens. Why? Because he knows that you have people in your community. Whatever they're asking you doesn't even matter at that point. He just knows that you know people. And so you have a lot of data. So now going back to the script, hey, Bo, a lot of people in my community, what they're looking into doing is a financial checkup from the neck up. That's kind of, you know, what we really do. What it's really called is a real estate action plan. This is where we get a better idea of what you're trying to accomplish long-term. We'll show you how we might be able to help. I emphasize the word might because we can't help everyone. When's usually good for you? I don't have the time right now because I'm making all my calls from the people who showed up to the event yesterday. When's usually good for you, during the day or the afternoon? And that's the converting into a possible buy, sell, refi, invest, whatever it may be in terms of if you're a loan officer, mortgage broker, or real estate agent. Now, you're going to call everybody using the same process of everyone who showed up. This is where most people stop. I'm talking about like the top 1%. The 1% of the top 1% still stop there. And what they don't do is call all the people that didn't show up. See, if Clyde registered and he didn't show up, it's okay. I already account for that because I'm here to tell you. If 70 people registered, 35 are going to show up. Max 45. You're flirting around a 50 to 60% show rate. Hence why you got to send the email and make all the phone calls to everybody that you know. Because the more people that register, the more people are going to show up. But now if Clyde was one of those people that did register and didn't show up, his intention was good. Now what we're going to do is still call him and say, Clyde, just like if you had a birthday party and he didn't show up, if he's your buddy, you're going to send him a text and say, bro, fuck, didn't you come to my party last night, man? It was awesome. We had such a blast. You should have seen Bo. He was crazy. He was dancing on the dance floor all night. Like, you missed that. You would say that. Now, I'm going to do the same thing with Clyde when he doesn't show, if he doesn't show up. I'm going to say, Clyde, what's going on, man? I missed you last night. Sorry we missed you. We had a blast at our event yesterday. And Clyde's going to say, oh my God, I completely forgot. I couldn't make it. I was heading there. Traffic was crazy. My wife had me, whatever he says. Great, no problem, buddy. I'm going to keep you posted with other events. You cool with that? Hey, and he's going to say, yes, sure. Because if he registered already and it didn't show up, he's going to say 100% yes to you sending him other invites for events. Hey, but Clyde, now that I have you on the phone, brother, what a lot of people were doing yesterday and the value that they got from the event, I actually have a recording of it that I'm putting together. I'll get that sent out to you as well. But what they're doing is they're doing this real estate action plan. That's really the sexy word for it. Essentially, it's a financial checkup. And then I go into that part of the script because even if he didn't show up, why are we not calling him? He put up his hand that he was somewhat interested. You have somebody who's somewhat interested and you're just not following up with them. So you need to call even the people that don't show up, because I can tell you we have thousands, not tens, not hundreds, thousands of examples now, personally, with all the agents I'm coaching through this process, where they called Clyde, the guy who registered but didn't show up, and they got a deal out of it because they made that phone call. So we got to make sure we get to the people that come as well as the ones that don't come as well. Now I want to give you the actual 4 events that you need to do every single year. You do this like clockwork every 90 days. And if you're wondering, what the heck, Jazz, I'm going to do this every year and the same ones? Yes, because things change in the process of these 4 topics. These 4, and your guest speakers are going to change. So the number 1 event that you need to start with is starting with an independent mortgage broker. And I know my mortgage brokers are going to love this. So if you're a real estate agent, I want you to have a mortgage broker or loan officer. If you're a mortgage broker or loan officer, I want you to have a real estate agent as your first one. What are you going to be talking about? You're going to be talking about what's going on with all these interest rate changes. And even if there's not many changes happening, depending on when you're listening to this, what I want you to talk about is the process of refinancing properties. Why is that important? Well, people who want to learn about refinancing properties, they have something that's beautiful in the world of real estate, which is called equity. They have equity that they can pull out of their properties, possibly if they're comfortable and they have the stomach for it, to buy more. And so as a mortgage broker, loan officer, or real estate agent, you win either way if they're comfortable. But you got to educate them and inform them on how to do it before they can make that quality decision to do it or not to do it. So number 1 event, first event, and guys and gals, you got to schedule this 3 weeks out from today. Whenever you're watching this and listening to this, 3 weeks out. That's all you need from a promotional perspective. You just need about 3 weeks. Schedule it right now, because when you schedule it, it's real. Just a thought, listening to me passively. You're driving right now. I know it's hard. Just pull over. Just pull over for 2 seconds and put 3 weeks from now, educational event. Pick the Thursday night or the Saturday morning. This is when things start to get real. The rubber hits the road now. You're actually taking action. And you're actually not only taking action, you're taking massive action, especially if it's your first one. So 3 weeks from now is the first one, mortgage broker or a real estate agent, depending on who you are. Number 2 is a property manager. Why? Because anybody who shows up to an event that is speaking about managing properties, the headaches around the tenants and the toilets, and the process of finding tenants, and what do you do if somebody doesn't pay, that whole process, anybody who shows up, they're either an investor / landlord already, or they want to be one. And how nice is that when working with investors? And that's actually a future episode that we'll be doing, how you need to become, real estate agents and mortgage brokers, how you need to become investor savvy and why. It's where I've made multi-millions of dollars as my target market. And I don't tell you that from a flexing perspective. I tell you because I want you to target the same people. There's more than enough to go around. Is investors, they buy multiple properties. It's not that hard to understand. Somebody who's buying and selling, they do it once every 5 to 6 years. Investors, they want to do this stuff 5 to 6 times in a year. And so anybody who comes to this property management event, they're either a landlord already or they want to be one. And so you kind of already had people put up their hands like, I'm an investor, I want to be one. That's your second event. Your third event, depending on where you are on the continent or in the world listening to this, is helping people understand investing their registered funds and something like RRSPs. Why? Yes, you can get paid for it, a referral fee, but there's something way more important than that that's happening. There's a cross-pollination like bees, okay? What you're doing is you're educating people something outside of the real estate world. Remember, the number one reason why we want to put on educational events is to differentiate ourselves as not just as a real estate agent and like a salesperson who's always trying to sell them something, is by educating people with something that you don't even really handle. It puts this messaging in your community that you're really trying to help. You're trying to find new ways of creating wealth for people. And we all want to get out of the rat race. All of us. You're watching this and listening to this, not because of my looks and my voice. It's because you're trying to get one nugget that can help you earn more for whatever reason that you're going to use that money for. Freedom, kids, whatever it is. And so if we know that you want to get out of the rat race, you know that you want to get out of the rat race, so does everybody else in and around you, 99% of people. So start educating them on other ways. You might be thinking, well, then Jazz, I'm going to lose a sale. You might lose one, but you're going to gain 10. You might lose one sale like this, but you're going to gain 10. Simple math. Okay, so sometimes you got to take one step forward, in this case, to take 10 steps. You got to take one step backwards, and in this case, to take 10 steps forward. The fourth event that you're going to be doing is not an educational event. This is the event that you're going to introduce, and if you go back to a couple of episodes, I spoke about how to add more names to your database with service providers. So make sure that you go back to that episode, because I went deep. I made a live phone call to a roofer on that episode just to add him to my database. I went through the whole process, but this is where you get your roofer, your dentist, your doctor, your lawyer, your mortgage broker, your real estate agent, your landscaper, your home cleaner. There's a list of 100 of them. They're in your database. This is where you bring them all together, and this is where you have the wine and cheese together. This is where you have the breakfast and the coffee and the donuts, and you introduce them to each other so they now can send business with each other. They'll always remember the person who put the party together. Those are your 4 educational events. Number 1 is the mortgage broker. Number 2 is the property manager. Number 3 is in and around REITs and registered funds, depending on, again, where you are in the world. And number 4 is service providers, because this is where you get people to network. As I mentioned earlier on in the episode, to get my full checklist in and around the before process, the during process, as well as after the event, which is the conversion of the script, using the scripts, all you have to do is email event logistics, event checklist, whatever you want to put in the subject line in and around events, to info@jazztakhar.ca. Do we have a call we're making today? The team tells me no. We had a cancellation. For you to have a coaching call with me live on Jazz Takhar podcast for 10 minutes on whatever you want to pick my brains on, all you got to do is go to ftguacademy.com. That's ftguacademy.com/call. This was episode 249. I look forward to seeing you at episode 250. Have an amazing kick-ass week. If you found this episode valuable of the Jazz Takhar podcast, you might want to check out other episodes of mine right here. If you're a real estate professional and you want to get on a live coaching call with yours truly on the Jazz Takhar podcast, where you get to pick my brains on anything that's going on in your business, click the link here.